Chapter 1. When the cameras turn away. The cameras had stopped flashing weeks ago, but Selena could still see the white bursts behind her eyelids like ghosts of fame. Her apartment smelled of cold coffee and wilted lilies, a memorial to the life she had lost. She sat by the window, fingers clutching the curtain edge, whispering to her reflection. Washed-up actress becomes liability. It sounded sharper when reporters said it. Now, even the tabloids had moved on. Once, she had lived inside those flashes and believed applause was oxygen. Then, the scandal came. One careless quote, one jealous rival, one politician who hated being told no. Her inbox had filled with death threats instead of scripts. Her laptop pinged. Subject, you deserve what's coming. The sender's address was a jumble of numbers. She shut the lid so fast it rattled and pressed her hands against her eyes. "What do they want from me?" she whispered. A knock came from the door. 3 slow strikes, steady and certain. Her pulse jumped. She crept forward and peered through the peephole. A man stood in the hallway. Broad shoulders, calm stance, a faint scar on his cheek. She recognized him instantly. Eric Voss, the silent bodyguard who used to stand near the red carpet ropes at her premieres. The one who never smiled. "Eric?" she asked through the chain. He nodded once. "Why are you here? You called for help." His voice was low and rough, like gravel under thunder. "I called my agent, Carla. She won't answer." "How would you know?" "Because they hired me 2 years ago." Quietly, when the first letters started, her stomach tightened. "They never told me. They didn't want bad press. They pulled me the day your scandal hit. So that's it? I'm not worth protecting anymore?" "You are," he said. "Just not to them." "Then why are you here?" "I saw the headlines. And because someone's watching you who isn't me." He handed her a folded sheet of paper. It listed street corners, coffee shops, and times. Every place she had been that week. "They're tracking you," he said. "Patterns like this aren't random." "Why me?" "Because you're alone now, and alone is easy to hurt." She stared at him, the familiar scar catching the light. "So what now?" "Pack a bag. I'm not going anywhere." "You are." "With you?" She gave a nervous laugh. "I barely know you." "You don't have to. You just have to trust that I don't leave my jobs unfinished." She looked around the apartment. Her trophies were turned face down, curtains taped shut, windows blacked out. 5 minutes, she whispered, while she threw clothes into a tote. Eric stood near the door, scanning corners and checking locks with mechanical precision. His calm made her nervous and strangely safe at the same time. When she caught him looking at her reflection in the mirror, she blurted, "Do you ever smile? When it's safe. Is it safe now?" "Not yet." They left together. The hallway lights flickered as they stepped outside. A few photographers lingered by the gate. Flashes sparked when they saw her. Eric moved in front of her without a word, shielding her from the cameras until they reached a black sedan parked half a block away. He opened the door. "Seatbelt. You sound like my dad. He didn't drive like this." The car pulled into the night, the city falling away behind them. "You really think someone wants to hurt me?" she asked. "I think someone already tried." "Why help me, Eric?" He kept his eyes on the road. "Because everyone else ran." She studied his face in the glow of passing streetlights. Calm, hard, not unkind. "You don't talk much," she said. "Talking gets people found." "You sound like a fortune cookie with PTSD." That earned the smallest hint of a smile. It disappeared as quickly as it came. The highway stretched ahead, empty and dark. "You still don't trust me," he said. "You showed up with a scar and a stalker map. Trust takes longer than that." "Then let's keep driving." She turned toward the window. In the glass, his eyes weren't cold anymore. They were searching. Something in her chest loosened for the first time in weeks. When they reached his apartment, he unlocked the door with a single motion and led her inside. It was small, plain and spotless. 2 rooms, heavy locks, blackout curtains. Everything had a purpose. He handed her a blanket. "You take the bed." "And you?" The floor. That's ridiculous. Efficient. You're terrible at comforting people. Not my department. What is your department then? He met her gaze. Keeping you alive. The answer silenced her. She changed into an old sweatshirt and lay on the bed, the blanket tucked under her chin. The room was dim, lit only by a sliver of moonlight through the window. In the other corner, Eric spread a thin mattress on the floor, his movements steady and deliberate. For the first time in months, Selena felt her body relax. Not because she believed she was safe, but because someone else finally refused to look away. Outside, a siren wailed, far off, and faded into the distance. Inside, the quiet no longer felt empty. It felt like someone was standing guard over the fragments of her life. And as she drifted toward sleep, she realized that the world might have turned its cameras away, but one man hadn't. Chapter 2. The Man at the Door. Morning found the little apartment washed in pale light and quiet resolve. Selena woke to the smell of strong coffee and the soft scrape of a chair on tile. Eric was already up, boots laced, jacket on, as if he'd never slept at all. He set a mug on the table and stepped back like the drink might bite. "Drink," he said. She wrapped her fingers around the warmth and tried not to stare. He seemed carved out of caution, every movement spare. Each glance measuring the room. She remembered how he'd spread a thin mattress on the floor last night and refused her protests. Efficient, he'd called it. She'd fallen asleep to the steady knowledge that he would hear danger before it knew it had a voice. "I need to go to Daylight Talent," she said, blurting it before she could talk herself out of it. "They're going to fix this. If I can talk to Carla face to face, we can make a statement or something. They owe me 10 years. They cut you loose," he replied. "People make bad decisions when they're scared. Maybe they just need me to be brave for 5 minutes." Eric looked at her for a long second, then nodded once. "You don't go alone." Obviously. She raised the mug to hide a nervous smile. "I'm dumb, not suicidal." A shadow of amusement crossed his mouth and was gone. He handed her a hoodie and a plain cap. She folded her hair under it, tugged the brim low, and tried to pretend she wasn't the sort of girl who once planned her coffee runs around paparazzi lighting. They left by the back stairs into a morning that smelled like wet concrete and exhaust. The city always sounded different when you were hunted. Ordinary noises turned into signals. Eric drove the same anonymous black sedan as last night, and his eyes checked mirrors the way other people checked the time. Twice, he changed lanes for no reason she could see. 3 times, she saw the reason in the mirror 2 cars later. At Daylight Talent, glass gleamed and smiled the way expensive things do. She recognized the receptionist instantly, a girl named Jessa, who used to angle for selfies and confess which stars had real manners. "Hi," Selena said, pushing back the cap. "I need to see Carla." Jessa blinked, then schooled her face into something neutral. "Carla's not available." "She never is on the phone either. Tell her I'm here, please." "Selena, we no longer represent." "I know, I heard the voicemail. I still want 5 minutes." She softened her voice. "I'm in trouble. Someone is following me. I'm getting—" She swallowed the word threats. "Things." "I'm sorry." Jessa's gaze flicked to someone behind the glass offices, then back. "There's nothing I can do." Selena stood very still. The lobby smelled like lemon polish and yesterday's flowers. 10 years of premieres, pitch meetings, laughter in the hallway, gone. She wanted to remind them how many nights she'd memorized lines and smiled until her cheeks trembled. She wanted to remind them of loyalty and how it was supposed to run in both directions. Instead, she nodded, because pride sometimes looks like quiet. "Thanks," she said. Her voice didn't crack. That felt like a win. Outside, the air was cooler. Eric was where she knew he would be, half a step off the door, eyes relaxed and alert at once. You could miss him if you wanted to. She didn't. "They won't help," she said. "I know." "How?" "Because they hired me, not you." They made you a problem to be handled. When the storm came, they handled the problem. The words landed with the same flat certainty as everything else he said. He didn't try to make them pretty. He didn't reach for her shoulder. He didn't tell her it would get better. He stood, and the city felt less like a mouth with teeth. They started toward the car. A black SUV idled at the end of the street, windows tinted. Eric adjusted their path without comment, leading her through a coffee shop and out a side door into a narrower lane. 2 minutes later, they were moving with the crowd again, and the SUV was a story happening to other people. Was that for us? She asked. Maybe, he said. Maybe not. We choose not to find out. She nodded, as if this was the sort of sentence she'd always understood, as if choosing not to find out was something other than cowardice. Freedom, she thought suddenly. It might be freedom. They spent the middle of the day in motion. Eric ran errands that looked like ordinary life, paying cash for a basic phone, buying a cheap jacket that made her look like any other tired local, picking up a pair of sunglasses that covered enough of her face to erase familiarity. She insisted on choosing snacks and returned to the car with a paper bag, water, chocolate almonds, something labeled energy biscuits, and 2 bananas she pronounced essential. For potassium, she explained. He accepted the bag, eyes unreadable. Noted. By late afternoon, they were back at the apartment. Eric walked the small space like a map. Door, windows, alternate exit through the fire escape, a storage closet that he opened and shut twice. He put the burner phone on the table and slid it toward her. 2 numbers, he said. Mine, a friend. Friend? Jake. He prefers to be a phone call. I thought I was your only job. You are, he said, but I'm not the only person who hasn't forgotten how to do theirs. She turned the phone over in her hand, then set it down as if it might scream. As evening edged the window glass with violet, the city changed registers. The day people folded into night people. The soft threats turned sharp. Around 9, a ping broke the quiet. Not her laptop, her old phone, screen down on the counter where she'd tried to ignore it. A text from an unknown number. Look outside. She stood, pulse ticking high and thin. Eric? He was already at the window, a shade lifted a fraction. He did not look back at her. Stay here. She stayed. The words were a tether. He moved down the stairs like something built for shadows and returned 5 minutes later with nothing in his hands and the same calm on his face. Someone across the street, he said. Hood up, pretending to smoke nothing. He left when I watched him watch me. So he saw you? He was meant to. What if he comes back? He will. We choose how much he learns when he does. Her mouth went dry. I'm trying to be brave, she said. You're being brave, he answered. I don't feel it. That's how it works. They ate on the floor because the table felt too formal for the life they were living. She peeled 1 banana with the focus of a surgeon, then offered it to him. For potassium, she repeated. He took it. You feed all your bodyguards? Only the ones who refuse to smile. He was quiet, which had become his way of honoring a hard question. When he answered, it was simple. Because you said no to a man who expects yes. Because you thanked the doorman when the cameras were still your friends. Because you don't know how to stop being kind, even now. That sounds dumb. It sounds rare. She looked at the door, then at him. I keep thinking I'll wake up and this will be a bad plotline. Some publicist will call and say, we've decided on a different crisis. And I'll go back to memorizing lines that someone else wrote. You're writing new ones, he said. I don't know how. You will. He laid the second mattress on the floor again, though she told him not to. She brushed her teeth with the cheap travel brush he had set by the sink, and caught her reflection in the spotted mirror. She looked tired, but there was a steadiness in her mouth that hadn't been there yesterday. Her world might still want to swallow her, but it would not do it easily. Good night, she said. He nodded. Sleep. She turned off the lamp and listened to the apartment breathe. A siren curled somewhere far away. A refrigerator hummed like a faithful machine. In the dark, she whispered to the ceiling. "I think I like you," she said. She hadn't meant to say it out loud. She wasn't entirely sure she meant it the way it sounded. She meant that she liked the quiet he brought with him, the sort that didn't press down. She liked being told to wear a seatbelt by someone who checked the mirrors for a living. She liked the clean certainty of "you take the bed" and the unfussy loyalty of "I'll take the floor." He did not answer. Maybe he hadn't heard. Maybe he was letting her keep the confession without making it a problem to solve. In the middle of the night, she woke to a sound she didn't immediately identify. A soft scrape like a match. Eric was at the window again, a shadow against the thinner shadow beyond. He stood there for a full minute, completely still, then crossed the room and set his jacket across the chair by the door. It took her a moment to realize why. The jacket would fall if the door moved. She fell asleep smiling at the foolish cleverness of it. He was a fortress with a coat for an alarm system. He slept in fragments. She did not know this, but she would learn it, the way she would learn the cadence of his warnings, and which silences meant danger, and which meant devotion. For now, she knew only that morning would come, and she would not be alone when it did. On the street below, a hooded watcher paused at the corner, glanced up, and walked on. A car door opened, closed, and the city swallowed the sound. Inside, the door never moved, the jacket never fell, and the man at the door kept his promise without saying the words. Chapter 3. The Trap Behind the Smiles. The morning felt almost normal. Sunlight hit the kitchen window and painted Eric's face gold for a moment before he moved away from it, always preferring the shadows. Selena sat on the counter, eating cereal straight from the box, her bare feet swinging like a restless child. "You ever sit down to eat?" he asked. "You ever smile while asking the question?" she shot back. He gave her a flat look. She grinned anyway, for the first time. He didn't look like danger. He looked like a man pretending not to care. Her phone buzzed. It wasn't the new one. It was the old one she'd left on the table. Screen cracked. Messages muted. One notification flashed through anyway. Breaking. Former actress Selena Hayes seen dining with Minister Adil Kazmi days before his scandal. Her chest tightened. The photo was blurry, but real. She was laughing, leaning too close to Adil in a restaurant from a year ago. The caption beneath twisted the moment into poison. Eric leaned over her shoulder. "He's resurfacing you," he said. "Why? He dumped me, married again, moved on." "No. He moved up. You're leverage now." She scrolled down. Comments flooded the post. Some were insults, others threats. A few called her a liar, a homewrecker. She laughed once, brittle. "Guess I'm trending again." "Pack your things," he said. "What? We just got here." They know the building. They always start online before they come close. His tone left no room for argument. Within minutes, he was moving fast, checking windows, scanning the street below. She shoved clothes into a bag and followed his lead, adrenaline doing what logic couldn't. They exited through the service door, down narrow stairs that smelled like old paint. The street outside buzzed with regular life. People with phones and errands, and no idea a trap was tightening. "Where now?" she asked. "Somewhere public," he said. "Crowds make good camouflage." He drove her across the city until the skyline turned smaller. They stopped at a strip mall with a diner and a few sad trees. He sat across from her, black coffee untouched. "Adil's team wants a reaction," Eric said. "You post, you deny, they feed off it. So I just let them bury me? For now." Silence makes them nervous. Selena stared at her reflection in the window, at the pale ghost of herself. "Silence used to make me irrelevant," she murmured. Eric didn't answer. He was watching the parking lot instead. A man in a cap walked past the window twice, not eating, not going inside. He paused once to tie his shoe, but never looked down. Selina caught it too. He's following us, isn't he? Eric's voice was steady. Stay still. The man circled the corner. Eric slid out of the booth, motion smooth as water. When he returned, his knuckles were red. He won't be following anyone for a while, he said. What did you do? Reminded him to pick better hobbies. Her heart was hammering now, half fear, half adrenaline. You're not like any bodyguard I've had. Good, he said. You're still alive. They paid in cash and left through the back door. The air outside carried a storm smell, wet asphalt and tension. Back in the car, Selina finally asked, "How long have you been doing this?" "Long enough to know there's no winning." "Just surviving." She turned to him. "That's a sad way to live. It's the honest one. I'd rather believe in happy endings." He glanced at her, and for the first time, something broke through his calm. "You still believe in them?" "Someone has to." The answer made him look away. They reached another safe location, a warehouse converted into small apartments owned by Eric's friend, Jake. Inside, the air smelled like metal and coffee. A single light bulb buzzed overhead. Jake was older, scruffy beard, sharp eyes. "So this is the actress," he said. "Didn't think she'd be real." Selina crossed her arms. "Didn't think bodyguards came with sidekicks." Jake smirked. "She's got fire. I like her." Eric ignored them both and handed Jake a flash drive. "See what you can find." Jake plugged it into an old laptop. "What's on it?" "Posts, leaks. Someone's routing through burner servers," Eric said. Same pattern as before. A few keystrokes later, Jake whistled. "Bingo. The source trail runs through a PR agency." Selina frowned. "Which one?" Jake's expression shifted. "Daylight Talent." Her stomach dropped. "That's my agency." "Was," Eric corrected. Jake turned the screen toward them. An email chain appeared, full of gossip, half-truths, and clicked replies. The signature line on several read, "Assistant to Carla Vega, Daylight Talent." Selina stepped closer. "They're selling me out." "Not selling," Eric said. "Trading, to buy silence." She sank onto the nearest chair. "So this whole time, while I begged them to answer, they were feeding the fire?" "Pretty much," Jake said. Anger came fast and clear. "Then let's expose them." "Too early," Eric said. "We need proof that sticks. One wrong move and they spin it again." She clenched her fists. "You sound like you've done this before." "I've seen what people do when truth threatens money." She looked at him, searching for something soft, something human under the steel. "Why help me, Eric? You could walk away and sleep fine." "I don't sleep fine." The answer hung there, simple and heavy. Outside, thunder rolled closer. The rain started sharp and fast against the windows. Selina stood by the glass and watched lightning cut the sky. Behind her, Eric moved closer, close enough that she could feel the heat of him. "You should rest," he said. "I can't." "Then breathe." She turned to face him. His expression hadn't changed, but something in his eyes did. For a heartbeat, he looked at her the way a soldier looks at home, something distant and almost sacred. "I'm not made for this," she whispered. "You're made for surviving," he said. "You just forgot how." She laughed softly, the sound fragile. "You talk like a movie line." He almost smiled again. "Maybe that's why you listen." They stood there as thunder rumbled through the city, both pretending not to notice how close they were. Selina didn't know what tomorrow would bring. More lies, more headlines, maybe worse. But she knew one thing now. The world had turned on her. The people she trusted had sold her name. But one man had stayed. And for the first time, she wasn't running alone. Chapter 4: The Scar and the Bananas. The rain cooled the city, rinsing the streets clean and leaving the warehouse apartment smelling like metal and damp paper. Selina brewed tea in a dented kettle that hissed like a tired cat. Eric stood by the window, counting passing cars the way some people counted sheep. Her new phone buzzed with the hollow insistence of bad news. She almost didn't look. Curiosity won. A video filled the screen. Her face. Her voice. Not her words. She was in a dressing room that looked almost like one of hers. The deep-fake version of Selena laughed and mocked a crying fan. It was cruel, perfect, and wrong in a way that made her stomach turn. Under it, her old co-star, Lana, had reposted with a caption about truth surfacing. Selena's fingers went cold. "They made me a monster," she said. Eric crossed the room in 2 strides and took the phone gently. He watched 10 seconds, then locked the screen without a word. "It's a composite," he said. "Good stitching, better audio. We can prove it." She shared it. Lana shared it, Selena whispered. "I let her sleep on my couch. I lent her shoes. I helped her rehearse. She called me sister." Eric put the phone on the table, screen down. "Sisters don't set fires and call it light." The kettle shrieked. She turned it off with a shaking hand. "Do they hate me that much?" "They hate that you didn't disappear." She stared at the cracked tile. "I'm going to cry in a very undignified way," she warned. "Do it here," he said, "not online." She sat on the floor and pressed her forehead to her knees. The first sob hurt, the second didn't. When the wave passed, she wiped her face with the heel of her hand and reached blindly for the paper bag of snacks. She pushed a banana toward him. "For potassium," she muttered. He took it and sat on the floor across from her, back against the bed frame. For a while, they ate in silence, like 2 travelers who knew the road would be longer than planned. When she could look up again, she saw it properly. The thin, pale line behind his right ear, where his hair didn't quite cover. She'd noticed at the diner, then been too proud to ask. "What happened there?" she asked. He touched the scar, thumb hovering like old habit. "Basra. Roadside device. The truck behind mine took the blast. We were the lead." "Did you?" She couldn't finish. "3 men," he said. "One was 19. I still see his boot in the dust." Selena's throat tightened. "I'm sorry." He nodded once, a soldier's answer to a civilian's apology. "Silence after the blast is the loudest thing I know." "I know that sound," she said. "After the headlines, when the phone stops ringing. It's like the world inhales and never lets you exhale." He looked at her properly then, eyes warming a degree. "Same noise, different war. Do you ever stop hearing it?" "No." "You learn to speak over it." She set her tea down and hugged her knees. "I want to stop being scared all the time. I want to stop being angry over shoes I lent and lines I rewrote for people who sold me. I want my brain not to rerun every mistake at 2 in the morning." "Then give it new footage," he said. "Write, film. Tell it before they finish it for you." "You think anyone will believe me?" "Enough people will." "You say that like it's not a guess." "It's not," he said. "They want you to erase yourself. You do the opposite." She rubbed her cheeks dry. "You're bossy. You keep calling me a bodyguard," he said. "I guard more than bodies." She laughed, small but real. "Now you sound like a fortune cookie again." "Open me last," he said, deadpan. She couldn't help it. She smiled. The room softened. Jake drifted in, eyes on his laptop. "The deepfake is already getting debunks in some corners," he said. A VFX guy posted a frame by frame. "We can seed it from a few burner accounts." "Do it," Eric said. Jake glanced at Selena. "You want to reply? Go ahead. But it'll feed the cycle." "No," she said. "Let the tech people talk. I'll make something else." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You're bouncing back faster than most." "I don't have another option." "Good answer," he said, and disappeared like smoke. She pulled a notebook from her bag and opened to a blank page. The pen hovered. "What if the only thing I'm good at is pretending to be people I'm not?" "Then pretend to be the braver version of yourself until she catches up," Eric said. "That's either brilliant or insane," she said. "Both have kept me alive." She started to write. First small lines, then a paragraph, then a scene. The simple act of making words in her own order worked like a drug. The air returned to her lungs. The deepfake felt less like truth and more like theft, and she did not negotiate with thieves. Eric watched the door. He also watched her. He told himself it was the same thing. It wasn't. When the rain thinned to a mist, he took her to the roof for air. The city stretched in wet lights and old bricks. She shivered and tugged his jacket tighter around her shoulders. He didn't remember giving it to her, but there it was, too big and perfect. Lana used to be kind, she said. Then the auditions got harder, and the rooms got smaller, and the smiles got thinner. I should have seen it. Kind doesn't vanish, he said. It gets buried under fear. You're defending her? I'm explaining her. There's a difference. Do you ever hate anyone, Eric? I hate the choices they make. That's very mature, she said. It's practical, he said. Hate makes you sloppy. She watched a bus grind through an intersection, people raising umbrellas like small shields. Do you hate any of my choices? I hate that you thought you had to smile while you hurt, he said. And I hate that you apologized for it. Her face stung, like he'd slapped her with truth. Noted, she said. Good, he answered. They stood without talking for a while. She looked small inside his jacket, hair messy, eyes rimmed from crying. He wanted to smooth a strand behind her ear and did not. He wanted to tell her she had been brave all day and did not. He wanted to take her hand and knew it would change everything, so he didn't. Back downstairs, she wrote more. He checked the feeds, the building, the line of sight from every window. At midnight, a delivery alert pinged on the decoy number Jake used. A package had arrived at a mail drop 2 blocks away, no signature required. Stay with Jake, Eric said. I'm coming. No. She stared him down. He stared back. She grabbed her hoodie anyway. They moved like a shadow, and its longer shadow. The mail shop was nearly empty, just a bored clerk and a radio playing last year's hits. The package was plain brown, heavy for its size. Don't touch, Eric said. He lifted it himself, shifting weight, listening to the dull slide of something inside. Back at the apartment, he opened it with a box cutter and the patience of a surgeon. A gun lay in black foam. How? Simple, he said. We give them a place to come and a story they can't resist. Then we let the right people watch them write it. She swallowed. I'm not brave enough for this. You are, he said. I'm dumb enough for it, she tried. You're kind enough to be furious, he said. That's better. She laughed, frayed and grateful. You always know the line to say. I don't, he said. I just know when to say less. She looked at him in the quiet that followed. Really looked. And felt the ground stop tilting for one stolen moment. He stood in the middle of a mess made by other people and made it feel solvable. Eric, she said, voice small. I don't know how to thank you without making it weird. Don't, he said. Just keep breathing. She nodded and wiped her eyes again. Then she opened her notebook, wrote a title across the top, behind the flashbulbs, and underlined it twice. He watched the door. He watched the window. He watched her. He told himself it was all the same job. It wasn't, and he knew it. But tonight, he let the truth sit beside him like a quiet dog, loyal and patient, waiting to be named. The rain stopped. Somewhere outside, a car started and moved on. Inside, a woman began turning her life back into a story that belonged to her. And the man who guarded her decided, without ceremony, that guarding her life now included guarding her heart. He would not tell her yet. He would show her. One ordinary hour at a time. Chapter 5. The Gun in the Box. The day after the rain, the air turned heavy again, like the city knew something was coming. Selena sat at the small table, tapping her pen against the notebook she'd started filling with messy lines and half-finished sentences. Eric was pacing, phone pressed to his ear, murmuring to Jake about traces, couriers, and Jersey routes. She looked up when he hung up. Bad news? Package came through a private courier, he said. No sender, no cameras at drop-off. Maybe it's just another fake article, she said hopefully. It's not that kind of package. 10 minutes later, the intercom buzzed. Jake's voice crackled through. Something came for you. Brown box. No label. Thought you'd want first look. Eric didn't hesitate. He took the stairs 2 at a time. Selena followed, pulse thudding in her ears. Jake stood in the hallway, with a small cardboard box balanced in his hands. You order anything? No, Selena said. Exactly why I'm not touching it again. He handed it to Eric like it was alive. Inside the apartment, Eric set it on the floor and cut the tape carefully. Foam lining, cold metal glinting underneath. Selena froze. Is that? Yes, Eric said. A gun. And an unregistered one. Her mouth went dry. They sent me a murder weapon. They sent you a message, he said, and a warning. Someone's escalating. Jake crouched beside him. The courier account's tied to that PR shell we flagged yesterday. Same pattern, same payment method. Meaning? Eric asked. Meaning whoever sent it wanted you to find the trail, Jake said. They think you'll run scared before it gets that far. Selena's voice cracked. Then they don't know me. Eric looked at her, and for the first time, his expression softened. No, he said. They don't. Jake kept typing on his laptop, fingers flying. I'll keep digging, but this reeks of something personal, too deliberate. Selena rubbed her temple. You think Adil's behind it? He's too polished to get his hands dirty, Eric said. But his wife? Jake nodded. Bingo. Sadaf Kazmi. I just pulled her firm's expense report. There's a suspicious transaction. Same day the courier was booked. She's been bankrolling the leaks. Selena's knees almost gave out. Why would she? Because you were his before her, Eric said simply, and because the world listens more when you fall. Selena sat on the edge of the bed, gripping the blanket. So this was never about a scandal, it was revenge. Jake unplugged the laptop. You've got proof now, but we can't go straight to the cops. They'll bury it before the papers even print it. Then we do it my way, Eric said. Jake groaned. Your way involves risk. Everything does, Eric replied. He looked at Selena. You trust me? She nodded instantly. Yes. Jake sighed. Then I'll prep the bait. He left, muttering about reckless people and bulletproof plans. When the door closed, Selena exhaled shakily. You keep asking me to trust you. Do you ever trust anyone? I used to, he said. Didn't end well. Was it in Basra? He gave a slight nod. Someone I guarded. Wrong intel, right place, wrong time. What happened? She died. She didn't know what to say, so she whispered, I'm sorry. He gave a faint shrug. I'm not. Not anymore. Sorry gets people stuck. I've been stuck long enough. There was a long silence, the kind that could either break or build something. You don't have to do this for me, she said. I know, he answered. Then why are you? His jaw tightened. Because I want you breathing. And because you still say thank you, even when you're scared. She laughed softly. That's dumb. Maybe, he said. But it's the kind of dumb I like. She blinked, startled by the warmth beneath his words. Eric, are you flirting with me? No, he said too fast. Because it sounds a lot like flirting. He sighed. If I was flirting, you'd know. She smiled, teasing. Then what would it sound like? He looked up, eyes darker than usual. Like this. Don't die on me, Selena. I haven't decided what you mean to me yet. Her heartbeat stuttered. That's not bad, she said quietly. He stood, grabbed his jacket, and changed the subject. You leave tonight. They'll make their next move soon. Jake returned an hour later with a USB drive and a smirk. You'll like this, he said. I traced an old stalker forum. One of the users has been posting your photos for months, with exact timestamps. Guess who's feeding them? Selena's stomach turned. Lana. Jake nodded. She's been sending info through fake fan accounts. And that burner phone from the box? Registered with her alias. Selena whispered, she wanted me dead. She wanted attention, Eric said. You were the easiest headline. Tears stung, but anger burned hotter. Then, we end it. We will, he promised. He moved closer, lowering his voice. You're not running anymore. You're fighting back. That's the difference between a story they write and one you own. She met his eyes, steady now. Then, let's own it. Outside, thunder rolled again. The city pulsed with headlights and noise. Somewhere, the people who wanted her gone were planning their next step. Inside, Selena Hayes, once a washed-up actress, was ready for her next scene. Eric stood by the door, gunmetal calm, watching her like a man who had finally found something worth saving. She looked up at him and smiled faintly. "You know, you're kind of scary when you care." He smirked, just enough. "Good. Maybe they'll start being scared too." And for the first time, the fear in her chest felt smaller than the fire growing behind it. Chapter 6. Bait and Backfire. Night settled fast, thick clouds smothering the skyline. Jake spread maps and printouts across the table, while Eric leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Selena sat on the couch, with her notebook on her knees, trying to keep her hands from shaking. "So," she said, "explain this genius plan one more time before I panic." Jake grinned. "We make noise, controlled noise. You leak a location, somewhere you'll be tomorrow, pretending to film again. Sadaf and her people can't resist a chance to finish their show. We'll have cameras ready." "Bait," she muttered. "I'm the bait." Eric's voice came steady. "And I'm the trap." She met his eyes. "You really think they'll show up?" "They've come this far," he said. "They won't stop until someone stops them." Jake tapped a pen on the map. "I've got a contact at a private security firm. They'll monitor the area without flashing badges. We'll record everything. You just have to play your part. Act like you're making a comeback." Selena sighed. "I'm good at pretending. That's half my curse." Eric stepped closer. "Pretend to win this time." The corner of her mouth twitched. "You sound like my movie coach." "I sound like someone who doesn't want you dead." Morning came gray and tense. They drove to an old cafe downtown, one of the few she'd loved before the fall. It had big windows and faded blue chairs that still smelled of coffee grounds. Eric sat across from her, suit jacket stiff, sunglasses hiding most of his face. Jake's men scattered outside, pretending to be customers or delivery guys. Selena wore a beige coat and a scarf that could pass for effort. Her nerves buzzed so loud she could barely sip her coffee. "You sure this will work?" she whispered. "It already is," Eric said, eyes flicking toward the entrance. "They're here." The bell over the door jingled. Sadaf Kazmi walked in, poised, polished, poison-wrapped in perfume. She wore a smile that could cut glass. "Selena," Sadaf greeted, sliding her sunglasses onto her head. "Fancy seeing you here." Selena's chest tightened. "Guess I'm still trending." Sadaf's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I'd congratulate you, but it feels premature." Eric stayed silent, his presence a dark wall behind Selena. Sadaf tilted her head. "Your little comeback documentary. You think anyone's going to believe a fallen actress with a history of meltdowns?" "Maybe not," Selena said, voice even. "But they'll believe a jealous wife with too many secrets to hide." That cracked Sadaf's calm for half a second. Selena leaned back. "You should tell Lana to stop posting for a while. The police don't like coordinated harassment cases." Sadaf's lips curved again, but tighter. "You really think the world cares?" "You're yesterday's gossip." "Then why are you here?" Sadaf didn't answer. She dropped a napkin on the table, stood up, and walked out. Eric's gaze followed her through the window. She brought back up. Outside, a black SUV sat idling across the street. "Jake, we have movement," Eric murmured into his earpiece. "Copy," came Jake's voice. "We've got the cameras rolling." Moments later, a man stepped out of the SUV. Heavy build, fake courier uniform. He carried a small box under one arm. Selena's pulse jumped. "Not another one." "Stay put," Eric ordered. She grabbed his sleeve. "Don't. I'll handle it." He walked out, calm as a soldier on duty. The man saw him, froze, then tossed the box into a trash bin and tried to run. Eric caught him halfway to the corner, slammed him against the hood of a parked car, and twisted his wrist until the phone dropped. Inside, Selena pressed against the glass, watching. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Jake's back up. The man shouted something about just a delivery. Eric pulled a paper out of his jacket. Proof printed with Adil Kazmi's assistant's signature, authorizing courier pickups. Minutes later, cops surrounded the SUV. Inside were laptops, phones, and hard drives loaded with fake posts and leaked footage. Jake appeared at the cafe door, waving his phone. "We got everything on tape." Sadaf's voice too. She gave orders over the call. "This is gold." Selena's legs nearly gave out. "It's over?" "Almost," Eric said. "They'll fight it, but it's enough." She sank back into the chair, breathing for what felt like the first time in days. "I didn't think I'd ever win anything again." "You didn't win," Eric said quietly. "You survived. Winning comes next." She looked up at him, smiling through exhaustion. "You're terrible at celebration speeches." "Good," he said. "You'll stay humble." Jake clapped his hands. "Okay, lovebirds, you're free. Cops are taking statements. I'll clean up the tech mess." Selena blinked. "Lovebirds?" Eric shot him a glare that could melt steel. Jake laughed and backed out. The cafe emptied until it was just them and the quiet hum of the refrigerator. Selena took off her scarf, tossing it on the table. "You should stop looking at me like that." "Like what?" "Like you'd fight a war just to keep me breathing." He didn't deny it. "Would that bother you?" She smiled softly. "Maybe it should, but it doesn't." He stepped closer, voice low. "You were supposed to be a client. And now?" "Now I don't know what you are," he admitted. "Try saying friend," she teased. "That's not the word I was thinking." She flushed, heart ticking hard. "Then don't say it yet. Wait until I'm not covered in stress and crime reports." Deal. They left the cafe as the sky cleared. Reporters were already arriving at the scene, cameras flashing. For once, the lights didn't sting. Jake texted her later that night. "They're all in custody. You're trending again, but this time it's for surviving." Selena smiled at the screen. For the first time in a long time, her name wasn't poison. It was proof. Eric leaned against the balcony railing, watching her. "You're free now," he said. "Not yet," she said. "But closer." "You still scared?" "Maybe a little." "Good," he said. "Fear keeps you real." She stepped beside him, shoulder brushing his arm. "And what keeps you real?" He looked down at her, eyes softer than she'd ever seen. "You do." Her breath caught, and she didn't try to hide it. Outside, the city lights shimmered. Inside, for once, nothing was pretending. Chapter 7. The premiere without a red carpet. The world didn't explode when the truth came out. It just shifted. News broke about Sadath and Lana's scheme within a day. The leaked recordings went viral. Headlines that once called Selena a scandal magnet now painted her as the actress who fought back. For once, the noise wasn't about what she did wrong. It was about what they did to her. She should have been celebrating, but all she wanted was quiet. Jake insisted she rest. "Lay low for a week," he said. "Let the world chew on this." Eric agreed. Attention fades fast. Let them talk themselves tired. But Selena had another idea. She wanted her story told, her way. A month later, they stood outside a tiny theater downtown. No red carpet, no press, no champagne. Just 30 folding chairs and a flickering sign that read private screening. "This is it?" Jake asked, carrying a box of cheap popcorn. "It's not Cannes," Selena said, grinning. "It's freedom." Eric leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You sure you're ready for this?" "I've been ready since they tried to erase me." She had written and filmed a short documentary, Behind the Flashbulbs. Not a glossy confession, but raw footage of her life after the fall. No makeup, no script, just honesty. Jake flicked off the lights and hit play. The screen filled with Selena's voice. They said silence was dignity, but silence was just permission. Clips rolled, paparazzi shoving. Fake headlines flashing, her sitting in a dark room reading hate messages, then Eric at the window, watching over her. The audience stayed silent, completely drawn in. When the film ended, there was no roar of applause, just a slow, heartfelt wave of clapping. A woman in the front row wiped her eyes. Selena stood up, her knees trembling. "Thank you for coming," she said. "This isn't my comeback, it's my truth." The small crowd clapped louder this time. Jake sniffed. "You're trending again, boss." Eric stayed in the back, his arms folded, his face unreadable. But when her eyes found him, he nodded once. The smallest approval, and somehow the only one that mattered. Outside, the night was cool and quiet. Streetlights painted everything soft gold. Selena breathed deep, like she hadn't in years. "You did good," Eric said. She smiled. That sounded almost emotional. "I'll fix it next time." She laughed. "You won't." He looked down at her. Something new flickering in his eyes. "Carla showed up tonight." "She did?" He nodded. "Waited until the end, didn't say a word, left before you came out." Selena shrugged. "She's chasing redemption. Let her run." He studied her, curious. "You're not angry?" "I was," she said softly. "But I think anger's what they wanted. I'd rather be happy." For a long second, neither spoke. The city moved around them, honking, humming, alive. But it felt distant, almost respectful. "You're not going back to Hollywood?" Eric asked. "Not their Hollywood," she said. "I'll build my own." He gave a rare half-smile. "You sound dangerous." "Good," she said, nudging him lightly. "Maybe now they'll think twice." Jake came out, waving his phone. "Reviews are pouring in already. Hashtags, clits, everything. You're officially uncancelled." "Then I guess I'll start over," she said. Eric shook his head. "No, you don't start over. You move forward." "Big difference?" "Starting over means pretending none of this happened. Moving forward means you carry it and still rise." She smiled. "You should really write my speeches." "Already did," he said. "You just said it better." Jake cleared his throat dramatically. "Okay, not to ruin the vibe, but if you two don't kiss soon, I'm calling it emotional tax evasion." "Good night, Jake," Eric said flatly. Jake grinned and disappeared inside. They stood under the theater awning, neon light flickering over their faces. "So," Selena said quietly, "what happens now? You'll disappear again?" He looked at her, eyes steady. "Do you want me to?" She hesitated. "No, I want you to stay, but not because you think I'm a job. You stopped being a job a long time ago." She laughed softly. "That sounds suspiciously romantic." "It's honest," he said. "Then be more honest." He stepped closer, close enough that the night air shifted between them. "I fell for you somewhere between the fear and the quiet. You were supposed to be a name on a file, but you turned into the only thing that felt real." She stared up at him, heartbeat quick. "You're terrible at flirting." "I wasn't trying." "That's what makes it work," she said, smiling. He brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "You sure you're ready for someone like me?" "I've survived worse," she teased, "and you make great coffee." He laughed under his breath, low and genuine. "You don't make things easy. Neither do you." For a moment, the city faded. Just two broken people standing in the glow of a second chance. Selena leaned her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm beneath. "You're still guarding me, aren't you?" "Always," he said. "But now I want to." She tilted her face up, eyes bright. "Then stay." "I wasn't planning on leaving." And when he kissed her, soft, sure, nothing showy, it didn't feel like a movie ending. It felt like the start of something they'd both fought too hard to deserve. For the first time, the flashbulbs outside didn't blind her. They lit the way forward. Chapter 8. Always morning. Sunlight spilled through the blinds, painting soft gold across the floor. Selena woke slowly, wrapped in the blanket of a new life that finally felt real. The world outside was loud again. Reporters calling her brave, directors reaching out, fans rediscovering her old films. But inside the apartment, it was calm, safe. Eric was in the kitchen, frying eggs like it was part of his security training. His sleeves were rolled up, hair still damp from the shower. And for a man who had faced bullets, He looked oddly peaceful holding a spatula. You cook now? She teased, sitting on the counter. I adapt, he said. Bodyguards need fuel. Guess that makes me your fuel source. He looked over his shoulder. You're trouble, that's what you are. She smiled, barefoot and happy for the first time in forever. You like trouble. He didn't argue. They ate together quietly, the kind of silence that didn't ache anymore. After breakfast, her phone buzzed nonstop. Calls from news networks, apology messages from old colleagues, even Carla's public statement thanking her for bravery and resilience. Selena read it and laughed. They act like they raised me from the ashes. You did that yourself, Eric said. And you helped. He shrugged. I was just doing my job. She leaned across the table. You don't believe that. His gaze met hers, steady and warm. No, I don't. A few days later, Selena's documentary hit the internet officially. Within hours, millions watched it. Comments poured in, fans apologizing, strangers thanking her for speaking out, young actresses saying she'd given them courage. Eric watched from the couch, arms folded, expression unreadable. You're famous again, he said. This time for something that matters. She scrolled through the messages, smiling at one that said, she didn't fall. She rose differently. I think I like this version of me, she said. I like her too, he replied. She turned toward him. You sure you're okay with me being in the spotlight again? Cameras, chaos, everything you hate? I'll adjust, he said. As long as you don't forget to look away from them sometimes. I won't, she promised. And if they cross the line again, he added, they'll have to go through me first. She grinned. That's very dramatic. I'm a dramatic man. No. You're a quiet man who pretends not to care. Big difference, he smirked. You talk too much. Get used to it. The premiere tour started small. Independent theaters, online interviews, art house festivals. Every time, Eric stood nearby, out of frame, watching the exits. Sometimes he caught her glancing at him mid-speech, that secret smile that said she hadn't forgotten who kept her standing. At one event, a reporter asked her, after everything, do you still believe in love? Selena looked across the crowd and found Eric leaning against the far wall, pretending not to listen. She smiled and said, I believe in the kind that stays when the world leaves. Later, she caught him smirking. You were talking about me, he said. Don't flatter yourself. You looked right at me. Coincidence. He leaned close enough for his voice to brush her ear. Then I'll take coincidence. Weeks passed. Fame returned, but Selena didn't let it own her this time. She chose her work, her words, and her peace. And Eric, he stayed, quietly orbiting her world, still keeping watch, but now as something more than a shadow. They moved into a bigger apartment, 2 bedrooms, though one stayed suspiciously unused. Selena filled it with storyboards and scripts. Eric filled the shelves with security manuals and coffee beans. They argued about groceries and laughed about her cooking disasters. It was ordinary in all the right ways. One night, after a long interview, she came home exhausted and dropped her heels by the door. Eric looked up from the couch. Long day? Every question's the same, she said. How does it feel to be back? And what do you say? That I never left. I just changed shape. He smiled faintly. Good answer. She sat beside him, resting her head on his shoulder. You ever think about what comes next? Tomorrow? He asked. No. Like the rest of it. He paused. I don't plan far ahead. Well, start, she said. Because I'm keeping you. He chuckled. Keeping me? You heard me. He turned slightly, eyes softening. You sure? She nodded. I've been sure since the night you told me not to die on you. He exhaled slowly. Then I guess I'm yours. Good, she said. Now kiss me before I change my mind. He did. Slow, warm, unhurried. The kind that promised more than it said. Months later, her second film, written, produced, and directed by her, premiered at a festival. It wasn't about scandal or fame. It was about surviving the storm and choosing love anyway. When the lights dimmed and the applause swelled, Selena searched for Eric in the crowd. He was standing in the aisle, clapping slower than everyone else, but with that small, proud smile she'd learned to treasure. Afterward, she found him outside under the string lights. "You didn't say anything," she said. "I didn't need to. Say something anyway." He studied her for a second. "You made art out of pain. That's rare and beautiful." She swallowed, caught off guard. "You're getting better at this whole romantic thing. I'm learning from the best." She laughed and slipped her hand into his. "So what are we now, Eric?" He looked at their joined hands, then at her. "Something permanent." "Permanent's a big word. So is love." She smiled. "You really are dramatic." He leaned down, forehead brushing hers. "Only for you." Months turned into a year. Selena's name was no longer whispered, it was respected. The scandal that nearly destroyed her became the story that rebuilt her. But through all the noise, one constant remained: the quiet strength of the man who'd stood in the shadows and never left. One evening, as they watched the sunset from their balcony, she said, "Do you ever miss your old life?" "The one with bulletproof vests and nightmares?" he asked. "Yeah." He shook his head. "I traded it for this." She smiled softly. "For me?" "For peace," he said. Then, after a moment, "And you?" She rested her head against his chest. "Good answer." He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "You know you still talk too much. And you still love it." He didn't deny it. The city glowed beneath them, endless and alive. Somewhere out there, people were still watching her movies, still talking about her story. But for Selena Hayes, the noise finally meant nothing. Because the man beside her had given her something no fame could match: safety, peace,